What's good? What's going on out there? Welcome to Sports RS. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the 2021 NBA playoffs. We're going to be going over my bracket, my predictions, what I think is going to take place during these playoffs, how many games each series is going to take for each team to win. And also, we're going to be going over just who I think will be the MVP and who I think is going to, give a lot in these playoffs. But before we get started, I want y'all to go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification bell just so that you receive all the notifications possible. And every time that we post a video, you can receive it. The first series we have coming up is going to be against the Utah Jazz versus the Memphis Grizzlies. I believe that this is going to be a quick series. The Utah Jazz, I have them winning this series in 5. I believe that Memphis is a young team. They're a promising team, and I think they're a team of the future. They have a few pieces. I believe that they're going to be a few pieces away from getting to their ultimate goal, which is to win a championship or to actually be a contender within vying for a championship. So I believe that series is going to be ended in 5. Next, we have the Clippers versus Dallas. I believe that this is going to be a hard-fought series, but I believe that Dallas is going to knock off the Clippers, which is the first upset of my bracket, with Dallas knocking them off in 6 games. I believe in 6 games they'll be able to take care of them. And with that, I don't know if that's going to lead to blowing up the team or anything like that, but I do believe that the Dallas Mavericks have what it takes in order to knock off the Clippers, so I have them winning that in 6. Next, we have the Nuggets versus Portland. I believe that if the Nuggets was in a different predicament, having Jamal Murray in the lineup along with somebody like Michael Porter Jr. being a part of the lineup and having Jokic a part of the lineup, I believe that they would have had a better chance. But with them not having Jamal Murray this year and only having Jokic and Michael Porter and a few other people assist the team in winning, then I believe that they're not going to be able to beat the Portland Trail Blazers. I have the Portland Trail Blazers beating them in 6 games. I believe that Dame Dollar is going to come to life. I believe that Damian Lillard will be making it to the second round, and we'll see exactly who will be going up against. Next, we have the Phoenix Suns going up against the Lakers. I believe that the Phoenix Suns had a phenomenal year. I believe that Devin Booker is a shooting guard of the future. He has a few things that he needs to just work on and key in on, but I believe with the addition of somebody like Chris Paul, that allowed him to see some growth and to be able to be taught by somebody that is a master at this game. Chris Paul, who I believe should have been a part of the MVP race and actually should have been 1 or 2 within that race. He's a big time changer and a game changer as it pertains to being a part of basketball. And if you watch him play, you see every single team that he goes to, they have some form of success. He has that leadership quality that I believe is going to allow them to flourish, and that taught some of those young guys on that team to have not only have confidence, but how to play the game of basketball and to make it into the playoffs. But in this playoffs, I believe that the Lakers will take them out in 5. I believe LeBron James is back to where he needs to be. I don't believe that he's 100%. I do believe he's about 70 to 75% right now. But as he gets his feet under him and the team gains that chemistry, I believe it's going to be way too much for the Phoenix Suns to try to overtake. So I have the Lakers beating them in 5. Next on our bracket, just to swing over to the eastern side, we have the 76ers versus the Wizards. I believe that the Wizards found a way to scratch themselves into the playoffs, but I believe that the playoffs are going to be a quick ride for them. I believe that the 76ers are going to win within 5 games, knocking them out, knocking Russ back out of the playoffs. Hopefully, he gets another shot with another team. I don't believe that the Wizards have what it takes in order to make it all the way to the end. And I don't believe that they have what it takes in order to consistently get into the playoffs, and not only consistently get into the playoffs, but vie for a championship. I don't think that team is built for that. I believe that Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook will have to go to another team, either together or separately, in order to see any type of success within the playoffs. Next, we have the Knicks versus the Hawks. I believe that the Knicks is on a high right now, and I'm 100% believing in them because I do like Julius Randle. That's another player that I believe should have been in the MVP race, and not that he should have won, but he should be within the top 5 of that race. And I haven't seen the full lineup for that, but he should be in that final 5, and I believe they narrowed it down to a final 3. But I really like the way that he did what he did this year. You've seen it develop in his game, the commitment that he has towards the game, and the steps that he took towards making sure that he works on different parts of his game. I believe he's going to continue to perfect that within the next few years, and I also believe that the Knicks are going to be vying for a championship if they put the right pieces around him. So I have him beating the Knicks beating the Hawks in 6 games. Next, we have the Bucks up against the Miami Heat. Now, the Miami Heat was one of the biggest stories last year in the playoffs. They made it all the way to the finals. Shockingly, a lot of people didn't believe that was going to happen. It was very shocking to everyone when they did make it to the finals. And this is one of the teams that they went against last year and actually knocked out, which was the Bucks. Now, the Bucks, I believe that Giannis, to me, is the player that's under the most pressure this year. I believe that he has the most pressure out of anybody. There's nobody else in this league that has more pressure on them than Giannis to win their first championship. Now, of course, LeBron James always has pressure on him to win. There's always going to be pressure on him. I believe that there's some sort of pressure that's on Kevin Durant. But I think people will understand that they do not win at their first year because a lot of teams that are put together don't win in their first year. But Giannis is somebody that just signed a brand new deal and a huge extension with the Bucks, committing to that team and committing to winning championships with that team. And so this year, him coming off of winning back-to-back MVPs, I believe that this is going to be a huge year for him to prove himself and to show people that he's a championship caliber player. But not only that he's a warrior and he's willing to do what it takes in order to win a championship. So I have the Bucks beating them in 5 games, taking care of business. I believe that he can get 1 game in, but besides that, I believe right now there's too many things that's going on that will hinder the Heat from winning, and the Bucks is going to prevail. Next, we have the Nets against the Celtics. I believe that this is going to be one of the quickest series in this whole playoffs. I believe this is the only sweep that I have, which it is the only sweep that I have within the first round. I believe that the Nets are going to win every single game. They're going to win every single game handily. And vying that everybody stays healthy, I believe that this is going to be a quick sweep. Bringing it back over to the Western Conference for the semifinals, we have Utah versus the Mavericks. I believe that Utah, I believe in Donovan Mitchell. Rudy Gobert is a great player. They also have Jordan Clarkson, who I believe is the 6th man of the year. Most certainly the most improved player of the year, I believe. And with that, I believe that Utah is going to beat Luka Doncic within 6 games. I believe it's going to be a 6-game series, a very good series, but in the end, I believe Utah will be advancing to the next round. And bringing it down to Portland, we have Portland versus the Lakers. I believe that Portland is going to, unlike last year, I believe that this year Portland will give the Lakers a true series. I believe that they're, because of the injuries with the Lakers and a lot of the chemistry issues that they have right now, still trying to figure out one another because everybody coming in and out of the lineup. I believe that that's going to provide the Portland Trail Blazers with 2 games within this series. But ultimately, I believe that LeBron James is going to do what he needs to do, and he's going to bring his team to the promised land, and they'll win this series in 6 games. Swinging it back over to the Eastern Conference, we have the 76ers versus the Knicks. With this series, I believe that the Knicks are going to show and going to shock everyone. I believe that Joel Embiid is going to put up nice numbers. Ben Simmons is going to put up nice numbers. And they have a lot of supporting cast on that team that's going to put up great numbers. But I also believe that the Knicks, something special about the Knicks this year. Something special about Julius Randle. And just being biased myself, I do want to see Derrick Rose see some type of success in his career. So I have the Knicks for my second upset within this bracket, beating the 76ers in 6 games. Next, we have the Bucks versus the Nets. I believe that this is a huge year for Giannis. Like I said before, I believe that this is a year that he has to prove to people, he has to show people that he wants to take it to that next level. The only thing is he's going up against the Nets, and I believe their firepower and who they have on their team, barring any type of injury. So if there's any type of injury that messes this up, then I believe, they can knock them off. But I have the Nets with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden beating the Bucks in 6 games. I believe there's going to be a great series, but it will not go to 7 games. It will be a 6-game series that will be won and ultimately brought home by the Nets. Let's swing it over to the Western Conference for the conference finals, which we have Utah versus the Lakers. I believe that Utah is going to make this a great series for a few games, but ultimately I believe that the Lakers will overcome and it will prevail and get to their ultimate goal, which is the finals, in order to get to their next ring. I believe that the Lakers are going to beat the Utah Jazz in 5 games. LeBron James is going to become too much for Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. I believe they make adjustments by this point. I believe that the Lakers are going to be in full stride at this point. LeBron James will be throwing the ball in the right areas. Anthony Davis will be in his stride. And I think ultimately that will be too much for the Utah Jazz. So I have the Lakers beating them in 5 games. All right, swinging it back over to the Eastern Conference, where we have the conference finals, the Battle of New York between the New York Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets. I believe that the New York Knicks had a great season. Them making it to the Eastern Conference Finals is a huge step in the right direction. It's a great story, but the Brooklyn Nets become too much for them with the firepower of having Kyrie Irving, having Kevin Durant, and also having James Harden along with the rest of the cast. I believe it becomes too much. I think that the Knicks still one game just to make it a great series, just to make it a cool series and make it feel as if it's going to be something else different. But ultimately, the Brooklyn Nets take over the New York Knicks and make it to the next round. Now we have the finals, which is the Los Angeles Lakers going up against the Brooklyn Nets. Within this playoffs, I believe we all been waiting for the opportunity to see Kevin Durant go up against LeBron James once again in the finals. Now, both of them have on totally different uniforms from the last time. Last time they met, it was the Warriors up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Ultimately, we saw exactly how that went with Kevin Durant prevailing and winning the MVP of that series. I think that we have a different series this time. I believe that the chemistry issues, and by this being the first year, I believe that the Nets will fall to the Lakers in 6 games. I believe that the Lakers are going to take over, and I think that this is going to be the time for LeBron James to squeeze out one more championship, which I believe he'll have 5 at this point. By having 5, that will put him in those conversations that people like to put him into, that I also like to put him into as well. I believe he's well equipped to be in those conversations, being the top. But with this, I think that the Lakers become too much for the Nets overall with Anthony Davis. Like I was saying before in the previous round in the conference finals, I believe that they started to get into a certain rhythm, and that rhythm is going to take them into the finals. I believe these finals will be ended in 6 games. I think the Lakers will win in game 6, taking home another ring for the Los Angeles Lakers. I believe that this makes it 18 NBA championships for the franchise. I think we'll have a great finals, but ultimately the Lakers will take this home. LeBron James being the MVP, cementing himself as one of the greats of all time. So that's my bracket for the 2021 NBA playoffs. Let me know in the comments if you agree with the bracket, and what does your bracket look like, or what teams would you switch around? Do you actually see those upsets that I did put into this bracket, like the Clippers being knocked out by Dallas or the 76ers being knocked out by the Knicks? Let me know if you agree. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We will be having much more content coming out. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day.